So we wanted to know if this cyber threat has been neutralized or if this is just the first in a series of attacks. So we've reached out to Joe Hancock in London. He's the cybersecurity chief at the law firm Mishcon Daraya. Thanks so much for joining us, Joe. Should we be afraid?
I don't think afraid is necessarily the right word. We should definitely be worried. I don't think we've seen the last of these attacks that have been ongoing for quite a while now. Cyber is one of these risks that kind of continues to grow on a daily basis. So we definitely should be worried, but perhaps not afraid.
Yeah, and when we look at, for example, where you are in the UK, the NHS was hit. Big conglomerations, big institutions that affect the lives of millions of people. With that in mind, how fragile is global protection? How fragile are we all to these sorts of attacks?
I think everyone is very much at risk, from healthcare to energy to the defence sector. The problems we saw over the weekend really affected one of the most critical parts of the UK, and a part that's really held dear in people's minds. So it had a huge impact, both for the organisations themselves and also for individuals. I think we're likely to see more of these issues in healthcare as a sector broadly. We've seen them in the US before, we've seen them in the UK and Europe now, and I think we're likely to see them elsewhere. So this is a problem that's definitely going to keep growing.
Yeah, what were the particular vulnerabilities that can be changed and shored up so that it doesn't happen again?
This particular vulnerability seemed to come from some leaks that happened in March of material which alleged to have come from the NSA. These vulnerabilities were quite quickly picked up by criminals who then designed a piece of software to exploit them and to try and grab a ransom from the people who were affected. I think we're likely to see more of those problems where information gets disclosed and people need to move very quickly to respond. For me, it's all about speed of response and just doing the basics. If you do the basics, you'll be protected against most of the cyber threats that are out there at the moment. However, a lot of people don't do those today. Well,
thankfully, that guy, Marcus Hutchins, responded quickly. Is he a hero? What kind of conversation would we have been having right now had he not been smart enough to buy the domain and do what he did?
Yeah, I think Marcus has been a very big part of this, and he described himself as an accidental hero. I think he did something that was quite lucky there in stopping the spread of the virus. However, by Sunday, new versions of the virus had appeared that removed the particular feature around that domain. I think that we would have seen more problems on Friday and Saturday, but ultimately the level of problems we've seen now are probably about where we'd have got to. I think over the next few weeks we'll see this to be a continuous issue, though.
Okay, so these guys call themselves shadow brokers. Many people have called them cyber terrorists. They said more details in June, quite ominously. Maybe they're bluffing, we never know. Now there's a big question. Who done it, as they say? Now, there's a finger of blame pointing at North Korea. There was a finger of blame pointed at Vladimir Putin. He said, no, this came from the US. Who do you think was responsible for this?
The first thing to say is I'm not sure we'll ever know who's responsible for this. This particular attack really has the hallmarks of crime. I think this is probably like to be organised criminal gangs, which could be operating from anywhere around the world. In terms of the shadow broker side of things, I think that probably will come back to a particular nation state. I'm not sure which. But I think those two together are when we start to see the real problems.
Okay, so if I was a bad guy, I'm not saying I'm not, but if I was a bad guy with a lot of influence and a lot of money, and I wanted to hire some hackers to cause a lot of damage, would it be easy for me to hire the shadow brokers to do maximum damage?
I'm not sure it'd be easy for you to hire the shadow brokers. However, there are plenty of criminal groups at the moment that act as hackers for hire, or if not hackers for hire, provide kind of crime as a service. They'll provide you the software and tools needed to carry out these attacks. The barrier for being able to carry out such destructive attacks is unfortunately starting to come down every day. Hence why I think we'll see more and more of these in the future.
And where we stand right now in May 2017, in this arms race between hackers and those kind of cyber anarchists or cyber terrorists, whatever you want to call them, those who want to disrupt existing systems and those who are trying to shore up these systems, where does the momentum lie? Who's got the power? Who's got the momentum?
I think, unfortunately, the momentum is always going to be on the side of the attackers. They only have to be lucky once, or the defenders have to be lucky all of the time, every day. The arms race, unfortunately, is always going to be stacked in their favour.
Okay, and again, and I don't want to sort of ask you the same question again that I asked you at the very beginning. With that in mind, shouldn't we be freaking out here?
I wouldn't say being afraid or freaking out, because I'm not sure that's going to solve the problem. We definitely should be worried. We definitely need to do more. I think governments, businesses and individuals need to take cybersecurity more seriously than they have. And I think, as I said, if people are prepared just to do the basics, to put that support, finance, education in place to help all of us do the basics around cybersecurity better, we'll be in a much better place. If in a year's time that we don't learn any lessons from what's happened this weekend or this week, then I'll be at the point where I'm really afraid.
Might it be wise to maybe silo out some of this stuff and not maybe throw everything up onto the cloud as people have been doing over the past couple of years, because everything's integrated? Might it be wise to maybe just, break it up into chunks so that if one thing goes down, everything doesn't go down?
Yeah, I think breaking things up into chunks is always a good idea. It stops those kind of systemic problems, as we saw from the weekend, where an issue moves from organisation to organisation and from system to system. That's always a big problem. However, I don't think the cloud is necessarily the problem. I think the cloud provides so much benefit to businesses and to things like the NHS that it's something we should actually embrace and not be afraid of. However, we should try and separate these things out and really understand where those interconnections are, so we don't end up with a systemic problem as we have this weekend.
Joe, it's been good to talk to you. Joe Hancock, the cybersecurity lead at Mishcon de Reya. It's been an education. Enjoyed it.